Hello, everybody. Welcome to 372 Pages We'll Never Get Back. I am Connor Listoka from the ninth month of winter in Vermont. I am talking to you today with Mike Nelson, my co-host, who is, I think, in the 11th month of winter in Minneapolis after a well-deserved vacation to a warmer climate. How are you, Mike?
I'm good. Yeah, it's suicide watch time here for every Minnesotan. They're not allowing you to buy rope at the store anymore without a signature from a doctor. Yeah, it's a rough time. But you have it a little easier there. We are still sub-zero.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It is stunning to me. Like, I would have never banked on that moving here. I would have assumed they were pretty much the same climate. But yeah, Vermont does have it easier. I mean, you've got more stuff there. You've got more stuff to do in the sub-zero temperature, but we definitely have the climate better.
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on that, pretty much weekly going. I was looking forward to a little schadenfreude of you getting your butt kicked out there, and you've been beating me every winter. I don't know how you do it. But I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Well, something that can keep us sane, but I don't know, might add to that rope do not buy from list is this podcast where we've been reading books that we don't expect to like. We just finished up a delightful one, which was the Certified Public Accountant and the Cremated 64 Squares Statements. That might be the closest I've got to getting it right. I'm not gonna bank on
I don't
that.
think I've ever even attempted it.
Right.
This is my trying to say Ogden to you. I don't think I could pull it off if I rehearsed and maybe had a coach or something. But yeah, no, I can't. 64 square is all I can get.
Yeah, that's all you need. But yeah, that was a delightful romp. I feel like it clocked in, just long enough, and it provided some delightful fodder for everybody. People are still continuing to read the other books in the series, which is really amazing. People have found some. It doesn't get any better, and in many ways, it seems to get worse. So if you have a Kindle Unlimited membership and want to dive into that, it looks like you won't go wrong if you enjoyed what we just experienced. But the time has come to move on to something else, and boy, we've picked a book, and
we have. Yep.
It's one. So the way that I saw that this has developed, we started off. We did Ernest Cline's two books that sold millions of copies and made the man a rich man. And then we did the Eye of Argon, which was written by a 16-year-old 4 decades ago, who never really made much of an impact during his life.
Speaking of that, I was thinking of that book as we were, thinking about introducing this, and to open the show, I was going to call you a slut, and then I realized people might not remember that far back. That was one of Jim Tice's delightful turns of phrase was that he would have guys call other guys sluts.
It was very nice.
One of his idiosyncrasies. So if you haven't, go back and listen to those. It's short and delightful.
Yeah, and evidently there's a new book out. That is a person who has this is something people do where they retell a book, like you'll retell Moby Dick from some minor character's perspective type of thing. He's gone back into the Argon verse and is sort of doing that. He's re-examining it because he seemed to think there was the bones of something potentially good there. So he's taking a dive into it. We linked to it on the Twitter account. So if you need more EIC dogs and male sluts and disemboweled rodents in your life, that could be the fix you're needing.
Is this? Do you know? Is this person an actual author, or is this just a person thinking that they could dive into the universe?
I think that's a good question. I don't know. I clicked on it and it went in one area and out the other. But I think it was just maybe like a fantasy fan who's in many ways the same as Tice was. So.
Okay, well, maybe we can return to that world. Who knows?
Right. But then we did Tech War, which no one really asked, but you suggested, and it ended up being a great fit. And we did 64 Squares, which some people in the beginning were like, "This seems like maybe you're picking on this guy," but everyone ended up liking it, and I'm sure the guy got a bigger paycheck from Amazon this past month than he ever has in his life. And I think we all had fun with that one.
Yeah. It was, fun to read, but variable towards the end. So the length was pretty good. Get in, get out.
But this one, I don't think anyone is going to agree that this is far from punching down. This is an author who even maybe more so than Klein is someone that you can say whatever you want about, and it should be like water off a duck's back, because this is a guy who's been in the spotlight for his entire life, and has been known to rub some people the wrong way. I would say he's a polarizing figure.
He's a polarizing figure. The book that we have chosen is polarizing. He's lived a very colorful life, yes. I would say. Another hint, he has famous siblings as well.
Yes. So, and it's one that people, when the book came out, immediately started writing to us. They thought, I read this review. I haven't read the book, obviously, but I thought about you guys, like, please do this. And, we get a lot of those requests at Riff Tracks too. And we've grown, I'm sort of wary of them. I'm wary of the forwarded suggestion for people who haven't seen a movie, but have just heard that it's terrible. Because you need to sort of experience it before you can really judge whether it's good for our taste. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, this has happened many times on Riff Tracks where we will tackle something that people are enthusiastic about in some sort of live setting, and we put it out there, and crickets. Where'd all you people cheering go?
Right.
So, yeah, we're just a little leery of it. But this one, I don't know, this seems pretty solid ground. It was a popular book. It was reviewed both, well and poorly in major publications.
Yes. I've got some of those pull quotes now.
Great.
A phrase that kept coming up in more than one of them was fever dream, something that usually has more negative than positive connotations.
Sure.
Another headline, repellent and stupid on so many levels. The New York Times called it agonizing and conspicuously unfun. Go on. And Entertainment Weekly called it shrill, confounding, and a little hypocritical. Just a little hypocritical. So,
folks, shrill and confounding.
Right.
Let's reel them in now, Connor. Let's reel.
My favorite one was they called it a 160-page self-own. So that's sort of a more modern internet-y term, but it gets the point across pretty well, which is, I guess, that this guy in the efforts to write something that he considered deep and insightful and artistic, sort of just revealed things about himself that are pretty hilarious. So I don't think there's any other way to anything else to dance around. You want to tell them what we're going to do?
Yes, we're going to do a work by I believe it's first-time author, a long-time movie star, Mr. Sean Penn. The title being Bob Honey Who Do Stuff. Is that what it is?
Bob Honey Who Just Do Stuff.
Who Just Do Stuff, right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So be careful when you buy this book, because there's an enterprising gentleman on Amazon who is going by the name of Sean SHAW Penn, SHAWN Penn, and his book is called Bob Honey Who Just Does Stuff. And I'm not sure exactly what's in it, but it's about 30 pages long, and it has even worse reviews than the real book, because people bought it thinking it was the real book, and got like a 30-page book probably filled up with ipsum lorem text, I would guess, which is a pretty good prank.
I guess it is, and maybe deserving for those people who would be buying the Sean Penn book. I wonder, does Amazon purge things like I don't know, misspelling Oprah book club selection, making up your own book club called Oprah with 2 P's or something?
You'd think they would and should, but this one seems to have been up there for a while. It reminds me, there used to be about 6 or 7 years ago in football, Adrian Peterson on the Minnesota Vikings was the top drafted fantasy player overall before he made the decision to defend beating his 4-year-old son with a switch, and it sort of went downhill from there. But there was another guy named Adrian Peterson who was very far from the top player in fantasy football, and he even just looked more like a sad sack. And so it was always a fun prank to put him up in your fantasy draft, and some guy would immediately bid $50 for him before realizing he had been duped. And so that's what this guy is doing.
It's there was a scourge of Bruce Lee movies with Bruce spelled slightly differently, and then Lee, many different versions of Lee. Leigh is probably the hardest one to swallow.
But yeah, so I'm excited about this book. It seems like it's going to be probably different than what we've done, because it's someone who's aspiring to art, I would guess. He's trying to do developing his own style of writing, and it caught the attention of a lot of people who were, who blurbed it and such. Like, he was blurbed on the book cover by Salman Rushdie and Sarah Silverman, Bill Maher. So people did praise this, but I found that it was often sort of like muted praise, almost like backhanded.
Yeah. It was damning with faint praise. And Sarah Silverman, speaking of, her blurb is a cell phone in and of itself in a tremendous way.
Yes, absolutely. They, I guess I'm looking at the back cover where they abbreviated it, because the whole thing was, I guess, not. Oh no, it's still on there. Can I read that? It's vulgar. It's extremely vulgar.
Well, I think we are going to be heading into vulgarity in this book. That was one of the reasons I was a little. we won't focus on it, but for the sake of this, get the kids out of the room and listen to Sarah Silverman's blurb of the book.
Okay, so she said, before I started reading, I glanced over the table of contents. The first chapter is called "Seeking Homeostasis in Inherent Hypocrisy." I rolled my eyes and said aloud to no one, "Fuck you," which, it's a very reasonable response. Then I read it, and it turned out it's a goddamn novel for the ages, a straight-up masterwork, more relevant to this very moment than anything I've seen. Tom Robbins, Mark Twain, E.E. Cummings, and Billy Bragg all just came in Charles Bukowski's pants.
That is my least favorite sentence since since all of the books that we have read so far.
So that's sort of what sells it. That sort of effusive, over the top praise, which it can't possibly live up to any of those people that it's being compared to. But the other one that I thought was good. That was sort of a, you get asked to either blurb something. I'm sure you've been asked to blurb stuff that you sort of did as a favor, like we're polite, or like, when we wrote those DVD descriptions of movies we hadn't seen. This to me smacked of this one. This is the author of, he's the producer of Fight Club and Sons of Anarchy, Art Lunson. Stunningly poetic, runs crazy and chaotic. It's Clockwork Orange world on Adderall. When I finished it, I immediately hugged my dog. That's like him turning into blurb and then being like, we need 8 more words. He's like, well, if I say 8 more words, I'm going to have to criticize it. Fine. When I finished it, I immediately hugged my dog. There you go. Full blurb.
Yeah. Oh man, these are somehow worse than when comedy books come out and then all the other comedians do their blurbs for it. And they're just, terrible jokes. Yes. They don't actually talk about the content. It's right. Like, well, I was reading this. I was flying on an airplane, and this was almost as exciting as hitting the ground. Shut up. These are worse somehow.
Yeah, I agree. But so it has gotten a lot of comparisons to, say, Thomas Pynchon and Hunter S. Thompson, Charles Bukowski, Tom Robbins, all those, Mark Twain. And so we thought it would be a good idea to do yet another round of calibrating our tastes, so that we can sort of figure out if we're, the target market for this, if we're going to be, enjoying it despite what we like to enjoy in our normal lives. So we prepared a list of those things, and we're going to really try
because this is farther off the beaten path than our anything that we've previously done.
Yes.
It's a completely different genre. And so I think every Calibrate Your Taste that we've done in the past will not touch on anything similar.
Right.
So best to do it again. And then you can decide these bozos don't know what they're talking about or what have you.
Yeah.
So let's give it a run.
Okay. I'll start.
Okay.
So someone who was referenced on the back cover. What's your opinion of William S. Burroughs?
Not read a word.
Okay.
Not a word.
But, in general, if someone made you
I
go
haven't
to
read
a
it.
night of security guys at bars performing William S. Burroughs poetry, would you expect to enjoy it?
Well, who was I talking about this the other day, where you have an aversion to listening to music, let's say, because this happened to me a lot. Friends, older brothers or sisters would listen to something and you were like, I never want to listen to that person and band that they love because it's that guy.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I've known a lot of people who have suggested William S. Burroughs, and I've considered the source and said, I'm good. I'm fine. So that's why I haven't done it. So I don't really, it's coming from a general sense that I'm going to be disappointed.
Well, let me give you just a little taste. I prepared an audio drop. He was a guest on Tom Waits' album, The Black Rider. So this is which is an album that, I love Tom Waits, and I think I've made it all the way through maybe once in my life. So here's a song clip from a Taint No Sin, it's called.
Softly moan, tain't no sin to take off your skin and dance around in your bones.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got sort of like a almost like video game or Looney Tunes soundtrack, and then an old prospector warbling over that. Anyway.
Oh wow. Yeah. No, I'm going to maintain no reason to go there.
Okay.
I'm fine without it.
Are we going to go all at once?
Yeah,
Okay.
Go ahead. There might be slight crossover, but that's fine. I think I can adjust on the fly.
This may have been one I already asked you about, but Sean Penn's been in a bunch of his movies, Thin Red Line, Tree of Life. Director Terrence Malick.
Oh, boy. I saw the Thin Red Line, and I did not care for that.
Okay.
There were parts of it that I enjoyed. I thought it was, the visuals. I guess that would be damning with faint praise there. It was occasionally nice to look at, but
sure. I think that's, it's part of the Terrence Malick package is that they're beautifully shot, but so is Cool as Ice.
That's correct.
All right, so we're 0 for 2 so far. This is a general one. So the title of the book is Bob Honey. Just your opinion of honey, the sweetening agent produced by bees.
I very nearly asked you the very same question. It didn't make the final cut. Yeah, in general, a fan. I actually have I have several different kinds in my cabinet right now from different. Yeah. I have a buckwheat honey, which is very, very dark and thick. It's almost like molasses. And then I have a couple of different wildflower honeys. So I don't turn to them a lot, but in general, of course, I like honey.
Yeah, so that's interesting because there was a guy in the San Diego Ocean Beach Farmers Market. We used to always go there and check out the samples, and he would offer you. He had 16 different kinds of honey, and he had this spiel where he's like, this one is clover, this one's buckwheat. Love to put that on oatmeal. This one's prickly pear cactus. That one tastes great on your goes great with peanut butter. And I was like, I bet if you came back here and took notes, it would just change every single week what he was telling you that these various honeys were good to pair with. There was no way that I just was skeptical of the differences between all these types of honey that this guy was selling.
Well, at least he probably didn't go down as far the road as the wine people do with hints of pencil lead and stuff like that.
Yes.
So give him credit for
boiled
restraint.
Leather. Yeah. It's all right. So we're doing Bob Honey, but what's your opinion of Bob Ross?
Oh, I haven't watched him much, but generally sort of a fan.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I'm not an ASMR guy, so I don't sit there for hours feeling all calmed or anything by him. But what I've seen, I liked.
Okay, I would like to try it at some point in time. I'm a terrible artist, but I've seen these pictures of people who do his episodes and follow along, and they all turned out better than I could imagine mine ever would. Maybe we can do that in Nashville sometime.
make some happy trees together. I'm up for it.
All right. So what Bob Honey is doing is stuff. So what's your take on stuff, the Oreo filling that has sometimes come in double, and most recently is coming in a cookie called the Most Stuff, which looks like just an abomination.
The substance known as stuff, my opinion of it is a big thumbs down.
Wow.
I've never been a fan of Oreos in any shape, any how many millimeters flat they are. It doesn't matter to me. I don't like them. Now Hydrox.
Wow. Okay.
No, I don't actually have that. I don't actually have that contrary opinion.
That would be a good thing for the bar security guy who's holding a William S. Burroughs under his book under his arm conspicuously, to a bold stance for him to take.
Yeah, I had a friend in high school who once told me, she was kind of one of these people who would do things like, did you know that a Twinkie will survive in a landfill for like 65 years? I'm like, whatever. Yeah. It was that the Oreo stuff was it's just Crisco and sugar, and then they hardened it. I'm like, well, I mean, I think everybody kind of knows that anyway. So
sure,
it's up to you.
Yeah, it's not some like substance that they've isolated in the Amazon that they're mining out of there.
Right.
It's a mass-produced product on the scale of few things in American history.
Right.
Well, all right. So the last one I have is, I was going to ask about Chris Penn or Michael Penn. It's John Penn's brothers, but I figured I'd just go.
Romeo and Blue Jeans, or Romeo and Black Jeans guy. Do you know that song?
I looked up his other song that he had as a hit, and I did not know that one either. So I'm 0 for 2 on Michael Penn. Although he covered Bruce Springsteen's "Reason to Believe" with Amy Mann, which is a good cover, his wife. But,
right.
Yeah, I was going to ask about Quaker Oats with William Penn on their label, the Quaker Oat Company.
I am not a fan of oats at all until you start dumping buckwheat honey on them by the metric ton. Oats are for horses.
Okay.
That's it.
All
Roll them or not, they're still for horses.
Steel cut?
Oh, it sounds good, doesn't it? It seems like, man, steel cut is the way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it just is a more sort of crunchy, repulsive paste.
All right. And this is one other thing, just to sort of, this could end up being a self-own, but it's already a self-own for me. I was going to see who in the past 2 weeks has made the most exciting purchase, because the thing that I have arriving in the mail today, along with this book, is wow. It's going to be hard to top.
What do you got?
I have purchased a new pepper mill.
That is exciting.
Grinding pepper,
yeah.
Right? The one that we've used for the past 12 years has been grinding it way too coarse, and I didn't really realize that until I was trying to use a torch on like a cut of steak, and it was like igniting the peppercorns because they were too coarse.
So went with steel. You were doing steel cut peppercorns up until this.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. I bought into the hype, but I bought the top recommended one by Serious Eats, the runner-up on Wirecutter, because 10,000-word articles comparing pepper mills are they're a thing we do now.
Is it a Zassenhaus?
No, it's made in Maine, so that would be an odd name if it was made in Maine. I forget what it's called.
Oh,
it was more expensive than I thought it should be.
They used to have the market on that thing, but
so can you top that? Have you?
Yes, I think I can. It requires a little explanation.
Oh boy!
I just bought it. We have a cordless vacuum cleaner, lithium-ion one that my wife, she doesn't know how to quite. I mean, she's not here to defend herself. Let me just say it nicely. The parts don't really. When she takes it apart, she drops it every time.
Okay.
And so it slammed on the floor, and then the next time that I used it, it was making a high-pitched sound that can only be described as like 4 million dentist drills going into your brain.
Oh my God.
It was working. So I was just like, well, I guess put in earplugs and deal with this. And then I looked online, and the price of this thing has gone up. So I'm like, I don't know, it works. But then I went on eBay and I bought the engine for it. So I'm going to do a full swap out of my vacuum cleaner engine just to eliminate the dentist drill noises.
Well, that should
that's pretty good, huh?
that should stave off a trip to the rope store for another day, I suppose.
Exactly.
That little fun project.
Fresh hope. Here it comes. Honey, it's almost here. I'm watching the truck coming down the road towards us. The motor is here.
Well, good. That's what I've got for you. Your tastes seem I think similar in line to mine. I'll have a good Oreo every now and then.
Yeah. All right. Well, here you're going to get it's somewhat. Well, no, it's not similar material. How about this? The Madonna Sean Penn movie Shanghai Surprise.
Oh wow! I did not know that existed.
Oh, it was quite famous. I believe they were married. This was their big production. It was hyped to hell and back, and it was much maligned and mocked. I just thought maybe you had seen it just because somebody said you can't believe how bad this thing is, but I guess it's not even worth that. So
no, my opinion of it would of course be negative, but that's amazing because she made a movie with Guy Ritchie when he was her husband too. That was like Swept Away, I think. That was also one of those, the worst movie that's ever existed for about a week or two.
Right.
My one opinion about Sean Penn that isn't like a insufferable sort of humorless dude is he was doing work in Haiti with my friend's organization, and they were watching the Super Bowl together. And this is a friend who doesn't rub shoulders with Oscar winners very often, but he said it was a kind of a surreal experience. But they were watching the Super Bowl and just talking, not really paying attention. Then Sean Penn was like, "Oh, wait a second! Like, I should probably pay attention. Like, this is my ex-wife up there." And he's like, "Well, you were married to one of these dancers or something?" And he's like, "No, Madonna is performing the halftime show."
Wow.
And he's like, "All right, yep, we're on a different level, man."
Wow. And so he didn't know that.
I guess it was a while ago. Like it was, and it probably didn't last too long. So
yeah. Well, him doing work in Haiti is not admissible evidence as we take on his book. So I'm just going to have the strike that from your minds, jurors. You did not hear that.
Yeah. He wasn't smoking, cigars to mask the stench of the bodies he was helping to bury and anything like that.
All right. This is just a list of authors. Just assuming you know any of them and are familiar with them, just rattle off your favorites. We don't have to go in depth. Okay. Tom Robbins, Mark Twain, E.E. Cummings, Billy Bragg, not an author, but Thomas Pynchon, Hunter S. Thompson, and Charles Bukowski.
Okay.
Favorites.
Top
two.
Give them to me one more time.
Tom Robbins, Mark Twain, E.E. Cummings, Billy Bragg, Thomas Pynchon, Hunter S. Thompson, Charles Bukowski.
Okay. I'll say I like Tom Robbins. I haven't read him in a long time, but Lauren introduced him to me in college. And I liked Still Life with Woodpecker. And I like Hunter S. Thompson. I mean, I haven't read him in a while, but obviously in high school and college, I read a lot of him. And Billy Bragg made some good music with Wilco. They did those 2 albums of Woody Guthrie covers. That is good stuff. Right. The other guys, I haven't read too much. Mark Twain, I mean, sure, I have no hard feeling towards him. The other guys do seem to me like if the time in my life when I would have gotten embarrassingly into them is probably past.
Yeah. I will just reverse that, your list there. I probably only like Mark Twain and E.E. Cummings.
Huh.
Maybe E.E. Cummings much so more when I was younger and thought that I was smart in high school or whatever. Not so much lately.
Right.
Okay. Well, you have a good chance of liking this book then. You are much more suited to being on the same wavelength as our author.
Perhaps we will very much see. I think that there's going to be a lot of stuff in there that's like, was probably instantly dated, like, as soon as it happened and, based on the past couple of years. So I'm guessing that like reading it a year after it came out is going to be is not going to seem as relevant and raw as it was when he was putting it out.
Well, we'll see later on when it shows up. I know it's due in today, hopefully, along with my motor. We'll see. Heroin or severe alcoholism? Your thoughts? When I think of a lot of these authors, I just, the Charles Bukowski sort of, maybe not glamorizing it, but Any thoughts on heroin or severe alcoholism? Have you tried either? Do you like them? Do you have a negative opinion of them?
I haven't given either one a shot. I haven't really been offered, the first one. That's never really come up. Alcohol's readily available, but doing it to the level of some of these guys seems like it would probably get in the way of doing a lot of stuff I enjoy. Like waking up not covered in vomit. So I'm gonna give a thumbs down to both of them. I don't think either one would really agree with me or the lifestyle I've chosen. More power to these guys, but
yeah, you don't strike me as the type. And riff tracks really, I mean, we don't encourage it, but we also don't do the kind of work where they don't really click, I don't think. The heroin and severe alcoholism and riff tracks don't. Not a thing. We're not those kind of writers.
Yeah, I don't know what the heroin writing really emerges. It is amazing how many musicians and stuff did produce stuff that was coherent and viable while on heroin. But
so don't immediately give it some time and some thought, and don't immediately dismiss it.
Okay.
It reminds me, though, the lifestyle I was kind of thinking of. There's a Mickey Rourke plays, I think, like Bukowski's, doppelganger in some movie from the 80s. Barfly, yeah. And there's a scene where some woman, it's a barfly, is like hitting him with her purse, and he's like, "Oh, you got something hot in there! Ow!" And he's just, pig drunk. That seems like when you get to that point in your life, you probably need to self-examine a little bit more.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, we've all seen, the guy at O'Brien's or another place that, they're a little too early every day, and it doesn't seem like he's going home to a welcoming, happy existence.
Right. All right. So now we know that. The author had a small but recurring role on this television show, Friends. Your opinion on Friends?
Oh, man. It's been a long time. I don't have a positive opinion of it, I would say. I did watch it when it first came out because it was on after Seinfeld, but I would have to and then I'm stunned that it's something that people were still watching 10 years later. But I don't think I would enjoy it. I think it would seem pretty sitcom-y and soap opera-y now if I were to watch it. Though I did see a clip, I think on Netflix, just on the menu where they were sitting around the coffee shop exchanging witty one-liners, and I was sort of depressed by how young they looked to me.
Depressed by it, okay.
Well, just I don't know. Chandler was. They're probably in that show's universe many years younger than I am. So it was just sort of eye opening.
I understand that. Any opinion on the paparazzi? Do you think they're doing good work? Do you think they're doing bad work? Do you think they deserve any kind of treatment? Your thoughts?
Well, obviously they're giving society something that society as a whole craves. I don't necessarily need to know the opinion of someone who just landed at LAX on the latest Ariana Grande Pete Davidson drama, but they do have some pretty nasty aspects to their existence. I remember when Britney Spears was going through her rough patch about 10 years ago. And that was, her dating the paparazzi from Stockholm Syndrome and like banging on their windows with a umbrella. And so I think that's about as ugly as it can get. But I know why you're asking too. Is because Sean Penn punched a guy way back in the day, which I know from Bloom County. He punched Steve Dallas one time.
And he recently, relatively recently compared, I think a decade after the first thing, he kicked a guy in a parking lot as well. So.
And, I can probably, you probably would side with Sean Penn on that. I mean, most people don't lose their temper, but like if some guy's sticking a camera in your face as you're trying to go get like double stuffed Oreos at the store after a hard day, it's more understandable than it probably should happen more often. So thumbs down to the paparazzi.
Yeah, I'm kind of of that opinion too. It's got to get irritating. You can't always be on your guard. I'm not for punching people in the face generally, but still, yeah. All right, finally, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. his magnum opus, I think we can all agree.
Sure. And like,
unless you're a big I Am Sam fan, which I can't imagine is true.
I was trying to remember if he'd done anything else that would be considered like comedic, other than like the Between Two Ferns episode he did. I saw it a long time ago. I've seen moments from it. More recently.
You've seen them on AB repeat at all? Those moments?
There was a trivia night last week. They did a thing of like little gifs of people like, walking. That was the whole category. And they did the Phoebe Kate scene, and it looped, obviously before anything actually happened. But it was, I guess I would have a positive opinion of it based on that. It's a good scene.
I will give him credit. I think that archetype, the stoner surfer dude, probably existed, but he did, he really sort of nailed it and polished it up for mass consumption in a way that was pretty good.
Sure.
So I'm going to give him credit on that one.
Yeah, he was getting pitted before anyone even knew what that was.
Exactly. That's all I got for you. So I think you're pretty well suited to go into this book.
Sure, yeah. I didn't know that he made a movie with Madonna, but maybe we can revisit that if this proves intriguing to people. I hope it does. I hope this is not a huge, gigantic mistake.
Well, it's not a super long mistake.
That's true.
We did a lot of thinking and talking back and forth about this choice, so I think it'll be a happy one, and we can always spin gold out of straw if it's just really repulsive. We'll go quickly over it, and
right.
But we'll have fun with it nonetheless.
Yeah, and if it's not great, then we can blame it on all the people who suggested it. So,
right, actually trot their names out and just have a reading of that. Sure,
that's how you endear yourself to people. Well, yeah, I don't think that there's much else to say. We don't have the books in our hands yet, but they will be here later today. So when we do that, we can do the first reading assignment. We'll post the pages for that. But other than that, I think the paperback comes out in just a matter of weeks. So maybe this will maybe our timing will be fortuitous once more in terms of getting eyes on this.
Yep. And in the meantime, Connor and I will be vacuuming up our too large ground pepper and waiting for brighter days to come.
Yes,
so,
please.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon on 372 Pages We'll Never Get Back.